Hello and welcome to this edition of Ringside Digest. I'm your host Kirk Day, along with my co-host Noah Byrne and Nick Miller. And today we got a bit of a different video. We got a question that we want to get your guys' answer for as well. And it's a pretty basic question. I'm sure lots of people, NHL fans, are wondering this question. And it's, are the Leafs all in this year? And to me, I gotta say, it does seem a bit like it from the moves that Kyle Dubas has made the past few days before the trade deadline, acquiring O'Reilly, Chari, McCabe, Shen, guys like that. Like, it's going to be something to watch, and I don't know. I don't want to say too much because I don't have a full opinion on it right now. I still need to ponder it a bit just to get my ideas going, just to see what they're going to do before the actual deadline, before it's over, and figure it out after, and we can see what we think. So, what do you think, Noah? Let me hear what you got to say first, and we'll talk about it after.
As we all know what the past of what the Leafs have done. They've failed every year. We all know that. That's we all remember it. Kyle Dubas, he's on the final year of his contract, and it's at the point now where they need to shake up. And they've in the past they've moved their depth guys, and they've moved guys who aren't their core forward, and their core forward being Tavares, Nylander, Matthews, Martin. And it's getting to a point now where nothing's changing, and you've kind of given them players a mindset that this is okay. Nothing's going to change. Like nothing. If no matter how many times we keep losing, you guys are still going to be here, and there's not going to be any consequences. There needs to be some sort of consequence, because if there's none, it's just going to be the same thing year after year and year, and you're going to see videos like us talking here and it's just going to be the same thing over and over again. And I know personally, I'm sick and tired of seeing everybody saying this is finally the Leafs year. This is finally the Leafs year. Something needs to be done.
As for the question of is this the Leafs year, boy, if they could make that the quote for the last decade, well, half decade, a little bit longer, but geez, I would like to say so. I really would. Like after looking at the moves that Kyle Dubas has made already, like I'm the furthest thing from a Leafs fan, but even I'm getting frustrated watching this. Like this is the past. In the past year, if you look at what they did, they brought in O'Reilly, Achari, Lafferty, McCabe, Shen, Gustafson, and they only got rid of Pierre Engvall, Rasmus Sandin, Joey Anderson. And, I mean, well, Adam Gaudette and the AHL guys and some picks, but realistically, those are all roster players, except for Eric Gustafson. I don't think he's going to play a game in Toronto. But those are all roster players you're going to use for your playoff run. And I think the addition of Luke Shen was really big. I like that addition because now, in like the first round of the playoffs, that Corey Perry is going to be crashing the net hard. We all know they're playing Tampa. Let's just get that. Corey Perry is going to be crashing the net hard. You're going to need someone in front of that net to beat him up for that. Like if you look at what happened with Montreal a couple of years ago. You look at the guys cross-checking, like, sure, probably there are penalties in the regular season, but the refs put the whistles away in the playoffs. You had Shea Weber cross-checking guys left, right, and center. Joel Edmondson doing the same. You had Ben Sherratt doing the same. Those were all guys that beat Toronto. They beat them up. And obviously Carey Price. Let's not forget that. But you're going up against Andrei Vasilevsky. It's still not too far off, right? So you're going to need guys that beat people up in front of the net, and Luke Shen is exactly that guy. Jake McCabe is almost exactly that guy. So I'm really excited to see what they do in the playoffs. That is, if they get past the first round. But I'm gonna answer the question. I think it is the Leafs year that they finally get out of the first round.
I got a little question, kind of. Do you think Dubas has done enough? Do you think with the roster that they have now, and with the guys that are kind of lined up, do you think that this is the year that they do it, essentially, I guess? Or do you think they need to add more?
Like I said, I think this is the year, but I think that he does well. But you got to remember, he still owns a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. So if you think Kyle Dubas is keeping a first-round pick in a year like this, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. I think that they need to move that pick out. And what I would acquire if I were in his place, I would acquire maybe a third line forward that replaces Alex Kerfoot. Now I know Kerfoot is about half a point per game. He's the definition of all right, but the definition of all right is not good enough for your third line on a long playoff run. I don't think.
It doesn't get it done.
We've talked about it before that your third line needs to be one of your most important lines, and you're putting that trust in Alex Kerfoot. I don't do that. I don't do that. And now they could shift up the lines a little bit. They could try somebody else in that spot, but you don't see AHL call-ups going up onto your third line and winning a Stanley Cup. Tampa Bay call up Barclay Goodrow, Gordon Coleman. I mean, like, no. Like, and I know we use that example a lot for Tampa Bay and like for energy lines, but that is the example of an energy line. Even if you wanted to go back to Hagelin, Bonino, and Kessel, none of those guys were AHL call-ups, or they were at the time. They're guys that are solidified in the league. They give you energy. Some of them are fast. Some of them are, just pure goal scorers. Like Phil Kessel probably realistically shouldn't have been on a third line, but it worked. So that was their energy line. And for me, Alex Kerfoot doesn't do that. So I think I would acquire another player to go on that line, a guy that brings the intensity, that wears his heart on his sleeve. And the perfect example of that for me, and would just be too good of a story to ignore, would be Max Domi going to Toronto, and Toronto acquiring him on a 50% rotation. Not they still have enough cap, I think, but a guy who scores goals, put the puck in the back of the net. A few years ago, he only had a 70-point season with Montreal. So, we obviously know he can put up some points. He's fast. Max Domi fights people, and that's something that's also valuable for a third line. That he's not afraid to get into a scrum. He's not afraid to get to the dirty areas. Like, he's got a decent shot, good playmaker. I think all those qualities make him a better fit on that third line than Alex Kerfoot. So I'm going to go ahead and say they need to make at least one more move. But if they do that, I think that it's the year.
I do agree.
I don't know. I really think they have the roster here. I know I kind of said, they need to shake it up a little bit in that, but I really, really like what Kyle Dubas has built here. And I think this lineup compared to last year's and year before, keep going back to the year before, but I think he's learned from a lot of his mistakes. I really do. Like, I got it wrote down here, actually. I'm gonna read it. So I think it was when they were playing Columbus, Jake Muzzin was injured and Martin Marincin had to come in and play, which obviously he's not an NHL defenseman. Dubas now has 11 defensemen who can play. So, if you run into the injury bug, you bring in a guy like an Eric Gustafsson in. I mean, obviously it's not ideal, but he can play those last line minutes. I have here Tavares hurt versus Montreal. We were talking about the Montreal series. That forced William Nylander to play that second line center. If you look at that Leafs lineup now today, there's 7 guys who can play center. And it's Achari, O'Reilly, Tavares, Matthews, Kerfoot, Kampf. There's a couple other guys. I had it done up. I can't remember now. But, you can't go wrong with centers on your... They also, I think a couple of years back when they acquired David Riddick, they wasted a third-round pick on him. Instead of wasting a third-round pick on a goalie who's play, he's sticking with Joseph Wall, a guy that they kind of developed within, and maybe you see that third-round pick kind of go towards another depth move, maybe, which, I'm kind of going against what I'm saying there. But, I also have here that they overpaid for Nick Foligno. Obviously, that didn't do anything. But, he's added toughness and a leadership for less, only spending big assets on big-time needle movers and players with term, right? I also have here, he dealt with the Marner and Nylander holdouts. They both held out for RFA rights or whatever. Some might say that he caved a little bit and kind of gave what they... But if you look at... we didn't really cover it on this. I don't know if it was really a minor move or not. But he just traded away Rasmus Sandin. And he stuck it out with him, and he waited for him to develop, and he just got a first-round pick for him, right? And that also kind of poses another question or kind of goes to another topic, I guess, of Travis Dermott. he held on to Travis Dermott, held on to Travis until his value plummeted, and he only was able to get a third round pick. So I really truly think it may have took a lot longer than what everybody anticipated. I think it's what 6-7 years now. The Leafs haven't made it out of the first round, or they've been like the best team in the league and haven't made it out of the. I think Kyle Dubas has learned from every year, and I really truly think this is the year they get past.
Okay, I just have something else further to that. Yeah, I agree with you that the Leafs have upgraded. This is the best. I don't think anyone can argue this is the best the roster has looked in these 7 years since they became good, since they got Austin Matthews. But what I'd like to pose to you as well is, do you think that everybody else has gotten better around them? I think every team that's going up against them in the East this year, like Boston, New York, Carolina, all those teams have all gotten better as well with the Leafs, right? So if you want to talk about those moves another time, we can. But I think that there's still another move to be made here.
Yeah, for sure. It's right now in the East, it's pretty much just a bidding war of trying to get better than the next guy. Like we've seen Patrick Kane, Tarasenko go to New York. Then we see Orlov get put on Boston. See Timo Meier go to New Jersey. Like they're all getting better. And while Tampa, they get Travis Janelle, but they were good regardless.
They're a powerhouse anyway.
Yeah, and like you said, Nick, they do have a first round pick left, and they also have $4.7 million left. So realistically, they could go out and get another guy who get 50% retained. Someone who's on an expiring deal. Use that first round pick. I believe they also have another one from Boston that they got, and they have a 2024 and a 2023 one, so they do have two. But they also have Matt Murray, who's on the IR. So if you want to trade him, you possibly can, because like you said, you have Joseph Woll in the backup, and they could just stick with him. Realistically, Samsonov's playing good, but the only thing I'm questioning is that the goaltending is very, very good on those guys. Like I said, it's Boston. Boston have Ullmark. Tampa have Vasilevsky. Rangers have Shesterkin. Like those guys are franchise goalies. 3 of those guys, and the Leafs have Ilya Samsonov. I know Samsonov's playing well, and he is a good goalie, but it's just there's so many like the other teams like Boston and the Rangers, Tampa. They have so many more layers than I feel the Leafs do right now.
Yeah.
And like right now, because the Leafs can go out and get those deeper guys. A goalie right now would be a bit of a hard move. I mean, Jonathan Quick is probably your best option. Or you can get Thatcher Demko. That would be a bit of a long process to do, though, in a couple days. So, right now, I guess you're kind of sticking with Ilya Samsonov. So, it would be... Yeah. That's what I mean. Compared to Shesterkin, he is good, but will he take you to a Stanley Cup final? That's one thing I'm questioning. Compared to Shesterkin, Ullmark, Vasilevsky, because they're going to have to at least play one of those teams. There is 6 teams in the East right now that could win a Stanley Cup, and I think they could beat almost all of the Western Conference teams. Like maybe a couple exceptions, like Arizona, or not Arizona. Oh my, don't I didn't say that. Colorado. There's only a few teams that I think would actually hold a chance against those teams in the East. It's basically the winner of the East right now that gets the Stanley Cup final. They go through a powerhouse of teams. They're ready for whoever they're going to face on the other side. So if the Leafs do that, they need to add a bit more to get past those teams to get to the finals, in my opinion. I'm not saying they're bad. They have phenomenal additions of what they made this year. It's better than they've had any year. Kyle Dubas has done what he needs to do. Can he do more? Possibly. Will he do more? Again, possibly. But I think that he should just add a few more things, like a few nitpicky things, like Max Domi would be a great idea. Fits the play style they need to fill. And it's just a few simple things like that I think would put them there, right where they need to be in a Stanley Cup final, going for a cup, finally. Before you have guys like Austin Matthews and everybody like that expiring.
Yeah.
There's a few more things you need to do, I think, and then it could work.
I like that point you made of the goalies. How Samsonov, and even if you want to stack up against those guys, you have the best goalie in the league, and some of the best goalies in the league there. And if you look at the past Cup winners, Darcy Kemper, say what you want about Darcy Kemper, about having a stacked team in front of him. There's always the goalie is always arguably the best player on a cup winning team.
They have to be.
You know, exactly. They're your backbone of your team. You know, they're the guy you rely on night in and night out. And yes, I'm gonna kind of draw back on what you said. Like Samsonov and Murray have been, amazing for the Leafs, and they've been, guys that they can rely on. But how comfortable are you with them come playoff time? I think is the real question.
Yeah, I'd also like to touch on one more thing before we kind of wrap up here. Is also the fact that if they get Max Domi, another depth move like that, Max Domi would be a guy that can slot into that top six if there happens to be an injury, which is also a very important thing come playoff time. What if another situation like John Tavares happens again? Or what if, say, a Matthews wrist injury or something like that? Or Michael Bunting gets injured from not getting a penalty call or something like that. But in all seriousness, I think that I think they do need to make that move for an extra player that can slide into the top six if needed.
Yeah, for sure. Just to have the extra security. And just one more thing on top of that little goalie situation. Like, for example, Montreal, I personally think, would never have gotten to a Stanley Cup final if it wasn't for Carey Price. If it wasn't for him, I don't even think they would have gotten close. So it's just, that's a perfect example of it. Having a team like that, your goalie playing phenomenal, you need to have it. Because in the playoffs, you're going to be coming up against the best teams, the best players in the league. And there's nothing you can do if your goalie can't stop a puck. I know, I'm not saying Samsonov is bad. He is a very good goalie. Every NHL goalie is a good goalie compared to everybody else. But it's just the next level goalies is what we're talking about. Just someone who you can trust whenever, wherever, in any situation, and in the dire straits, realistically. So that's something the Leafs, I think, could only work on. A bit tough to do it right now, but if they can get their depth in their defense and their forwards, they will take the weight off the goalies that they have right now, and giving the opportunity with the players they have to put it all out there and let them do their work and not have to lie back on your goalie in those cases, in those situations. So that's pretty much my main idea for the Leafs right now in this playoff run. Yeah, but that's all.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's it. That's all I got to say.
And that's all we got for this video, guys. We want to know what you think about this situation as well with the Leafs, because we think it definitely could be their year if they make a few more moves. Even if they don't, it still could be. So let us know what you think, and give us some back and forth. We want to see what you guys think and what they could do, like if they have to do anything else. But if you do like this video and want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe, because we're going to be posting them all throughout the year, off-season, during the season, free agency, trade deadline, all of it. So if you do like this video, make sure to subscribe, and thank you for watching.